Welcome to Otaku Shot, where it's something liquor and anime. I'm Shane.
I'm a whole family burnt to a crisp.
Okay, good.
I'm Scott. How did that sound?
I think that sounded pretty good.
Cool.
I think it's pretty good for this. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. You're welcome, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, cheers, bud.
Hey, cheers. That was a bit loud. It picked up a lot more than I thought it was going to. For those who don't know, who have never joined this before, this is the first time that we've ever had very, very good audio for this.
Indeed, it's quite refreshing.
Yeah, it very much is. So, this is Otaku Shot. What are we drinking tonight, Scott?
We're drinking Oh Captain My Captain, Morgan.
Oh, Captain My Captain Morgan.
Yeah, long title for a brand of alcohol.
But yeah, we've had a good. We haven't drank as much as we normally do tonight.
Yeah, that's true.
There's still a good half a bottle. Hey, wait a minute. I'm gonna slide over for a second.
Yeah, please do.
Got to get that bottle just in case we want to.
Yeah, I need like another fourth of that bottle before I'm gonna sit here and talk this shit with you all night.
Yeah, that's true. Let's take a drink really fast, just to get things going.
And you'll hear every swig and slosh of liquid that comes through our pretty mouths.
Oh yeah. Oh god. Tastes amazing. You can still hear cans being set down though.
They'll get over it.
But hello, welcome to Otaku Shot. Lately, we've been just kind of doing our kind of anime book club going on. We don't really have any questions to answer this time around.
Sad.
Yeah, I had one question from somebody that I was thinking about answering, but I didn't really know what to feel about it because it was
what was the nature of the question?
It was pretty much just like, do you think that modern day anime kind of ruins old attributes the anime are about now? Like, do you think moe culture currently disrupts anime? Do you think lollies interrupt anime? Do you think cute stuff interrupts anime?
I don't know. It's it's one of those things where I think we've talked about this kind of before, how like anything that exists and has a culture around it is going to evolve and change.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, and it's like you can always appreciate the stuff that was made before those aspects were really entered into it and appreciate it for what it is. And I'm sure there is still content out there being made that will suit anyone's preferred niche or genre.
At this point in time, I just kind of feel like there's anime for anybody in any kind of style you want it. So I don't really know. I also had another question that somebody was just talking about the other day that I thought was very good to bring up was just, where do you see the future of anime going? So right now we've been seeing it evolve to currently the old style of animation where it was, like I was talking about this earlier, like up until like the 90s to like 2004, there was a specific type of animation. And then coming towards now, we've now gotten more digital 3D stuff. And people have been saying that like now they believe with what's going on is that 3D element is taking over what anime is like now. And eventually,
I have been seeing a lot more of that.
And like eventually will we start to just see nothing but 3D animation? Like probably. Like I can see it going that way because like 3D animation is also easier to make and it's a little bit more, up to our technology.
Yeah, I would say that with any type of new technology coming out in an industry, it's natural to see it start to gain more prevalence. But as long as there's artistic value in the old way of doing things, I think that type of formatting will continue to stick around. Like as long as there's people that appreciate it. Like we were talking amongst ourselves about the paint on glass animation for Mob, which is very labor intensive and takes a lot of time, but there are specific reasons why that type of animation was used and it fit the vision that they wanted to put out. So I think as long as there's a reason to use that type of animation, we won't see it disappearing.
I think you're right. I think there's kind of an animation style for everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
I think some people prefer older stuff, and I think some people prefer newer stuff. Like there's a specific gap that I've noticed also for like things that were from like 2012 and up. Like around the time Attack on Titan became a thing, that was like the point in time where everyone's like, cool, I fit 2012. I really don't need to watch anything under 2012 because this is where like the animation criteria got a lot better. Which like I would say anime quality in 2012 now has gotten significantly better. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that I think it's all entirely biased. It's all subjective. Some
Right.
people like certain anime, some people don't. I've seen a good amount of, I guess, at this point in time, I've seen a good amount of earlier stuff, but like I think I still prefer kind of anime from around 2008 to 2009, just because it's first of all in my time spectrum. Like I grew up on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right. Like that's what was coming out when you were getting into the, the weeb culture.
Yeah, weeb culture at that point in time, like I remember, like I think Sword Art is what like got me back into anime at the time. I think we talked about this in the past.
Oh yeah, it's a gateway.
Oh, definitely gateway. But like I remember that was like the thing that I was like, cool, this is like anime. And then I was like devouring anime at that point in time. Devours it.
That stage where you just become a black hole of anime. You don't even care what it is. Just slice of life. Like that's why I first started watching more slice of life stuff. Is I was just like, I need to consume anime.
Must consume anime. Anime is
Just
what
a
I'm
fucking
into.
Creature.
Anime. That's great. I guess moving on to, we're gonna try to keep this podcast, I guess, about an hour this time. We shoot for anywhere between an hour to an hour and a half. And just bumped my mic. Isn't that good? I love that. I love that. That's gonna be fucking hard to edit if I do need to. Sorry, we're still getting used to this whole like.
Yeah, we're learning as it goes.
This is the first podcast that we've been actually able to use these legit mics. So thank you to my my manager Mike. He'll be featured next time hopefully, but he is the one who provided this for us. He is our sponsor for this podcast essentially. Thank you so much. You gave me fucking like $400 worth of equipment to do. Moving on, so what we are currently watching this season is, I'm just going to go off my little list here, but we are watching The Rising of Shield Hero. We are watching The Promised Neverland, Mob Psycho 100. Scott's watching Kaguya. I wanted to get into Kaguya, and I will probably talk about this next time if we do anything, but like Kaguya, Scott says it's pretty good so far, so.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've gotten a lot of laughs out of what I've seen so far. I mean, it's nothing super engaging in terms of, plot, but that's not really what it's for. It's mostly
it's just for a good time.
Yeah, exactly. Just a nice laugh 'em up.
Yeah, that's fair. And then, we actually forgot about this, but Kakegurui.
What was that about again?
We forgot about it. Kakegurui.
The gambling one?
Yeah. We watched the first episode on like Line, and then like that's a Netflix original.
Okay.
So it takes a little bit for it to come out. I know there was problems like the people like I told you this last time, and you were like, "Oh, that's sad," but like the person who was subbing it for a while died.
Oh, well, that's sad. Laughing at a man's death. You're so insensitive, Shane.
I just love the way you put it, because the way you put it makes it seem even more insensitive. But we still need to catch up on that. We'll talk about that next time. Hopefully by then we've like maybe watched everything by then. I mean, I love Kakegurui, especially what it was. So we'll see how that goes. Our favorite right now, which is currently Boogiepop and Others.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That show's won me over big time. I'll talk about my thoughts on it as we.
Same here. And then we're still watching Sword Art Online. And then that time I got reincarnated as a slime.
Slime time. I watched a review on that show, and the maker of the video, I forget the title, but he pretty much mentioned that he wished there was a shorter name for the show because he had to keep saying it. And I just wanted to tell him, hey, just slime time.
It's slime time.
It's slime time.
There's nothing you need to worry about.
Exactly.
Here's this really short, shitty title that we provide for you. Slime time. That time I got
pretty much
reincarnated
sums
as a
up
slime.
the whole premise of the show. It's just your time with the slime boy.
Your time with the slime boy. I currently did not actually watch this most current episode, but slime time is about the same each time, so we'll get into that when it comes into it. I think where I want to start off is just top going down from what we listed. So, Shield Hero.
Yeah, have we when we recorded last time, we had not started Shield Hero yet.
No,
correct?
you had started Shield Hero, and
I wanted to understand memes.
yeah, that was a lot of things for it. I mainly just wanted to start it because I heard a lot of the things saying that was a lot like ReZero, and I mean, kind of, not really.
Yeah, it's one of those shows where the basic premise of it could kind of be like if you break it down enough, it could be a bunch of different shows. Like person X transported to other world needs to accomplish X goal, has some ability. But obviously both those shows have a lot more depth to them that make them original. So I think that comparing them, like, yeah, on a surface level they seem similar, and they are more similar in many ways, like as opposed to comparing Shield Hero to like Bunny Girl or something. Like, obviously they have more in common than those two, but
I'll say this. Okay. So with Shield Hero, I genuinely like the premise of Shield Hero so far. I like the first few episodes more than I've liked the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because I feel like the series has kind of dropped a little bit in what I originally thought it was going to be like. Because they built it up to be something very nice, and then it kind of dropped off from there. Not necessarily dropped off, but there's been a few parts where it just feel like, all right, this just kind of seems like a little filler that I don't really care about. But there's a specific part where the amount of anime that is about people being reincarnated or sent to another world
it's unreal.
Oh my god, it's getting so repetitive that I'm so upset about it.
Yeah.
I looked at the next the next list of things for next season, and I think I already came across 4 things that are, this person got reincarnated into another world, or this person got sent to this world. And I'm just like, all right, you guys are wearing out this basis really, really fast, and it's becoming kind of annoying.
Yeah, it's there's only so many routes that you can take that basic premise down, and once it's been explored ad nauseum, it's just not fun or new and exciting to dive down that rabbit hole. It's just all things that you've seen before.
Once again, we talked about this before, but the reason why I like ReZero is just because ReZero was the first time I've ever seen something like that was truly kind of shocking to look at some of the events that happened to him throughout the series.
Yeah.
But then I really liked Konosuba, because Konosuba was oh, cool, you're doing a spoof of that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of turns all those tropes right on their heads and explores them in a more pessimistic light almost.
Oh yeah, it was super cool. It was we talked about this last podcast, but it was super cool to see the difference between Kazuma and Subaru, who Subaru would die horrifically every single episode in a way that was comparative to that world. And then Kazuma would just fall out of trees and shit, and snap his neck, or hey, I'm a skeleton, you'll be able to revive me if you find my skeleton parts. And he was totally cool with that. And then every time he's just sitting in that place where he was brought to another world the time, and he's oh, don't worry, Awkward's just gonna revive me in a second, don't worry, I don't need to be sent away or anything. And she's are you fucking okay? You've died a lot.
She's just jealous of Aqua.
I don't think she's jealous of Aqua, because I think Aqua's jealous of her.
Well, she pads her chest, so.
I that's the one thing though. That's the only thing that they had going for that part, the display, which is super funny to me. But I mean, I like Shield Hero just because so far with Shield Hero, for those who have not started watching Shield Hero, to give you kind of a base premise of what Shield Hero is about, is once again, we've been talking about, an anime where somebody is transferred to another, a magical world. And in this world, they have summoned 4 heroes who all have a specific type of weapon that are supposed to defend them from waves of chaos in this world.
Would you call a shield a weapon? It's more like a defensive object.
See, that's the problem about it, is that, I'm going to go into this a little bit.
Oh, okay. I didn't know I was going to open up a whole can of shields.
Well, you... Fuck. Goes away from the mic. So, with Shield Hero, you have these 4 people that are sent to this other world. There is a person who has a sword, a person who has a spear, a person who has a bow and arrow, a person who has a shield. Obviously, Shield Hero ends up being the fucking butt of the joke for everything, because you know, you got all these people who have like these awesome magical weapons that can easily stab and kill people. And then you have Shield Hero, who is just like, hey, dude, I'm just like a guy who has like a shield that like just defends people. And everyone's like, all right, your powers suck and we hate you. Go away. And the entire beginning of this season, this series in general, is just like them just the whole core bit of it is that like everybody just hates Shield Hero for no reason.
Yeah, he's
And
just like a scapegoat.
and then they're just like, cool, let's just like frame you for rape and let's like just frame you for all this shit that happens in this world just because we don't like you and give all the other heroes the light. And then he's like, hey, wait a minute. Like, I kind of need like, do you want me to help you or not? Pretty much. And that's what's really cool about it, which is because once again, like with me defining a shield as a weapon. So eventually throughout the show, you start to realize that the shield is actually very powerful. The shield is a lot more powerful than some of the other weapons that are brought up. People just shit on it because it's a shield and it's made for defense, obviously. But since this is anime and not real life, where a shield is not made for a weapon, the shield is made for a weapon in this because there is a part in time where he has a battle with somebody else who has a weapon and fucking kicks their ass and values it as a way to hurt people.
Yeah, it really just took like he has to learn how to use it in ways that are more creative in order to turn it from a defensive mechanism into something he can actually attack with.
Yeah, and that was super cool.
I think that that is a really neat aspect of the show, how he has to overcome a challenge that to the other people that are in his situation is non-existent, and like get onto their level while everyone else is trying to essentially push him back down.
Yeah, and like a lot of the people mainly started watching it because of Raftalia.
Of course.
Because
Memes.
she's,
Memeable.
she's memeable. She's also like the cutest. People really liked the, I guess this is more the furry community that liked her because she's like a fucking raccoon. But I liked her originally just because she was like, she was a cool character. She immediately came into his life and like I really liked their traits of like, she was obviously a slave and still is a slave. But she was treated as more than that, and like in this world obviously he seems to be the person who is currently helping those who have been shunned by this world.
Mm-hmm.
And because he is one of the ones who has been shunned by this world, and demis in this world, which Raftalia is a demi. Anybody who's like a monster type being surrounded by like a human is a demi, and they immediately are like, oh, he's hanging out with a demi, that's fucking weird. And then he was like, no, like it's cool, like everything's fine. And then like just keep slowly meeting all these people who are like under, or like it just sucked because like the entirety of the show, it's just him cleaning up the mess of the spear hero, because the spear hero
Fucking
is like
douche.
what a douche.
I hate his ass.
Yeah, like everybody hates him. If you ever watch this show, just know that he sucks. It's just you watching him clean up stuff, and like at this point in time, he's just like, I really don't care about this world, and I just don't really want to be here anymore. And like this has no use to me at all. I'm not even doing anything. And then when he does do stuff, people just try to make him look like a bad guy. And at this point in time, he's pretty much embraced that, and it's just like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna act like a bad guy because everyone fucking thinks I'm a bad guy.
Yeah, just plays into that persona.
And like it's weird to think that he does that just because like even right off the bat when we first saw his character, he was like kind of a naive person.
Oh, definitely.
It was weird to see his shift in personality once he saw that the whole world turned on him. Just because he was like a nice guy when you first met him. When you first like see the first episode and he's summoned there and he's like, yeah, I'm just like, this is cool. Like it's fine that I'm summoned to another world. And then eventually he was like, hey, is there any fucking way you can send me back? I'm done with you guys.
Yeah, like he starts the adventure with, an actual drive to help the people that summoned him there and to genuinely like save the world. Like he's excited about it. But then as soon as the reality sets in that like essentially the whole world is out to get him, he immediately like changes his mood and his whole attitude on what he's supposed to be there for. Doesn't even really seem to care about it, which I wouldn't either. Yeah, like,
oh yeah, doesn't care
like,
at
fuck
all.
you guys.
Yeah, like pretty much fuck you guys. You sent me to this world and you had me do all this shit, and you're gonna give me a bunch of shit for helping you guys for no apparent reason at all.
I think it's an interesting contrast. Like you compared it to, or a lot of people have been comparing it to ReZero. I think like ReZero has an interesting examination on Subaru gets sent to that world, but it has no special power. I mean, he does have the his whole thing.
Yeah, he's got his whole thing.
But he's he gets his ass kicked in the first like 5 minutes of being there, essentially.
I think he dies 3 times in the first episode.
Exactly. So it's like he's essentially, if it's a look into if you were to be transported to a world like that, you would essentially be fucked. Like, you don't know the makings of this world and all of its subtleties. Like, you wouldn't be able to make it. So I think it's an interesting turn to have things turn out for this character, not in a way that's like overly, like everything doesn't go his way, but he's also not just averagely incompetent.
Yeah.
Like, he genuinely gets screwed over by people. It's not his own naivete that cripples him, essentially. It's just other people that screw him over.
Exactly.
It's just an interesting it's an interesting route to take this whole concept, in my opinion.
And like that's why I really liked ReZero comparing to this, just because in ReZero, like you were talking about how like obviously if you're transferred to another world, most people in these animes are just like, cool, this is it, I'm the protagonist, I go and I survive. And I liked ReZero just because Subaru came into that idea of, oh, this is a transferred to another world anime. I am the protagonist and I'm going to live. And then right off the bat dies. And then is like, all right, well, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And the world is not kind. And that's kind of what they're doing with S.H.I.E.L.D. here right now, is that like you're kind of seeing that he's developing his own abilities, as well as realizing that like I don't really want to fight for these people, but I kind of have to at this point in time. And shitty things have been tossed to him, and he's kind of realized like, all right, this isn't as easy as it seems to be, but I'm making it,
making bank,
collecting
lollies.
Yeah, there's that.
Buying them from a shady tradesman.
Yeah, buying them from a shady trade, like a slave dealer.
He bought 2 girls.
He bought 2 girls. Well, to be fair, he didn't know one of them was a girl, but the other one he was also like dad, and was just like, all right, I'll not really even dad. Like, it's weird because she's like his size now.
Yeah,
I don't really know.
It's still kind of a child.
I don't know what to think about their relationships.
Maybe nothing at all is best for right now.
That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
I like Rough Talia, and I'm like, that's kind of cool because she's like obviously grown up at this point in time, and like he did raise her for a solid time, but like it wasn't even really like he raised her. He like leveled her up essentially, and she became an adult. I don't know the inner workings of this world and how to go about it with people dating and stuff like that.
He raised her in the sense of like he made her fight monsters until she got stronger.
Yeah,
more like a Pokemon than like a daughter.
Pretty much just a fucking raccoon Pokemon. Cool. But like I don't mind the show. The show keeps kind of peeking in and out of my interest. Like it definitely didn't keep me as much as ReZero. I mean, I don't want to keep comparing this to ReZero just because I know it's not the same. But I also know that there are a lot of elements that just kind of go with all the tropes of things of being sent to another world. So I think that's why most people do that, just because it's, kind of all the same. But I think the only real reason why I'm liking it is just because I know it's 24 episodes. And I know that he's going to gain more power and more stuff, and I would like to see how that turns out. But on that note, hang on, let's take a minute. Let's take a little pausey for a second in between. This is our new segment of drinking in between talking about series. So here it goes. I'm gonna gulp it down. You're gonna hear it in this mic. Check it out.
Oh. It's like otaku ASMR. I love it.
That's so
Listen
gross.
to the liquor go down. Yep.
Oh god. Earlier we were like testing out the recording mic, and you could like audibly hear my stomach growl.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And I was like, shit, I gotta eat something, and I gotta make sure that doesn't happen during the podcast. But now that we've taken a little drink, we're gonna move on to the next one, which, goddamn, this is a good one. The Promised Neverland.
Oh.
So, do you want me to start, or do you want you
please.
to start?
I don't have too many specific things to say about the new developments of the show because it's hard to talk about without spoiling like major plot points. Go ahead.
So I've got a great way of describing this as well as not spoiling the entire series for you.
Excellent.
So we talked about this last time, is that like essentially the Promised Neverland is a bunch of kids who are part of this house orphanage type thing that one day realize that their world is a little bit different than it seems to be. And what I'll say about this is that I'm not going to spoil anything about the show. I genuinely want you guys to understand what it's like. And like, I know we spoil a lot of things on here, but like, come on, Shield Hero, come on. You already can tell what the goal is from the first episode of what the fuck the show is going to be about.
Yeah. Also, it's hard to understand anything that we really talk about without watching
Yeah,
what we're watching. So
like it's not a big deal.
you should know what's up.
Yeah. But with The Promised Neverland, that's a big step just because the first episode was such a big reveal that it's hard to really dive into the show at all.
Yeah.
In the end, we're going to kind of go over it a little bit more when the series is done, and maybe you guys have watched it by then and kind of share our thoughts. But right now, I just kind of want to say that, so with The Promised Neverland, it started out very strong, and I will say that it has pretty much continued to be strong the entire series.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
These kids that are in it are trying to escape, like we've talked about, they're just trying to escape this impossible situation that is just terrifying.
The way you said that was terrifying. It terrified my soul.
Terrifying.
Oh God, that look in your eyes.
Oh yes, God.
Jesus.
ASMR being terrified.
Send help. Send help.
But the show goes through a lot of twists and turns of what you imagine it to be in this world. And right now, I believe in this most current episode, it has taken a leap that I kind of was hoping for.
Really?
Yes. At this point in time, a lot of the things in the world have been discovered. Not really even. Like, a lot of the things in their own little space have been discovered. And they're just trying to pick up the pieces, and things keep getting in their way to stop that. The reason why I was talking about this earlier is that you were saying that what are they going to do now that this hasn't happened? Now that they've gotten to this point, what's the next 5 episodes going to be about?
Yeah, because it kind of seemed like the climax was about to kind of go down, even though we're still in the middle of everything that's going on. But they kind of just threw a wrench into the arc that everything was building up to. So they were kind of not really starting from scratch, but a new type of like plan has to be built up from where they're at now.
Yes. The thing that I'm going to say is that, first of all, I was kind of expecting that to happen. Is that, so the series is 13 episodes. I was not planning on them to do this entire, their plan.
Yeah.
The entire series. That would have been stupid. So, in my opinion, I think the reason why this is a good place for it to start a next arc is because we've hit that 8 episodes where now there's 5 episodes for them to grow more. And I think these 5 episodes, now that this big plot point has been kind of revealed to them and everything's kind of unraveling, this is the time and the place for them to start acting. And
so you think they're going to pick up the pace?
They have to, or else there's not going to be. Because, like, think about this. In the entirety of this, we don't know anything really about the outside world and what they're imagining. And right now is the point where they're going to act, and we're going to probably start seeing a lot of what the actual story behind the series is. Because, like, right now we've just been hearing about, like, them being in the same place, and you haven't actually learned a lot. You've learned about them as people, and you've learned about little minor things that have to do with the world. But when you think about it as a whole, you don't know shit. And that's what I like about it, is right now is the time to really, really get you into what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to talk about this and not reveal anything, because it's just like, damn, I want to say so much more, but I can't. But
we'll get to it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's all worth talking about.
I just know that now, like, I assumed that they were not going to do this up to the point where it was like the ending part. 5 episodes is a good amount of time to establish a new part and kind of get them to where we see some real cool stuff and some really cool developments.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, everything in this show so far has been a maze of twists and turns and dead ends and secret passageways.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where they take it. I think the makers of the show have a good direction, and I hope they keep it.
Oh, I think it's gonna be great. Plus, this last episode was like a big, like, oh shit, a lot of things are happening, and the story just like suddenly just like got thrown into action, and I'm
Kickstarted, baby.
Oh my god, yeah. And I'm just about it. I have a lot of predictions, and
Oh, I see.
oh yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot to happen. I think that
You
uh,
have to record your predictions now so that when we talk about it in the end, you don't have to say like, "Oh, I predicted that," and just you see what I mean?
I see what
You
you
got to make sure
mean.
people know that you really knew.
I don't want to talk about spoilers for this.
No, no, not for this. Just
Oh, just like when
record it on your own, just so
record
you
it on
have
my
the
own, let
proof.
you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
You
Yeah.
gotta have your alibi.
It's kind of yeah. There's there's so many good things going on with it that I'm just like damn, like plus like once again like they don't like their whole thing and throughout the series is that they're in like obviously they're in this like little playbox pen that they don't really know anything about the outside world
Yeah.
and what's going on, and it's kind of cool to really not know what's going on in the series about what's going on, just because when everything's revealed it's going to be like a oh shit, that's a lot to handle, and I'm hoping
Yeah.
they do it really good in the next 5 episodes to really get that so it's not like all just hitting me at once.
Hmm. Yeah, they
But
got to be careful to not rush like a bunch of information at once, because if it's too overwhelming, like it's hard to digest it all in the moment that you're watching it. And that's like really the most important part of watching a show, right? Is like the actual moment of watching it.
yeah, for sure. With that being said, I have nothing but good things about this show. Definitely something to recommend.
Yeah, agree.
I really like the animation style actually. The only thing I don't like about it is the fact that their mouths are like
Yeah,
to their eyes.
I was waiting for it.
Oh my god, it's
They
annoying.
just have such big chins.
They look like meme faces. Like it's hard to get into it sometimes. But I will say like all the personalities that are in there are like very defined. Obviously, there's like the three main characters that are in it. Each of them has their own character archetype, and I think they've stuck to it very well. Especially like Ray, for example.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
Ray has a very, very good personality, and I really like him.
Yeah.
Just because he's pretty much like kind of the one who's like. I think it's funny because people think he looks like Sasuke in comparison to Sasuke, which like now that I'm really thinking about it,
Yeah,
like
I
kind
see
of
it.
like Sasuke.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, that makes sense. They're really doing a Naruto trio here.
I mean, the loudmouth, overactive one has
Oh, orange hair.
poofy one. Yep.
Yep. So watch Naruto,
And then watch Promised Neverland.
and
You
then
know,
you'll
the sequel
get
to Naruto.
the sequel to Naruto, not Boruto, The Promised Neverland.
Boruto, who's that?
uh, I think it's Boruto's dad. You know Boruto's dad. That's the show I used to watch as a kid. Boruto's dad.
Okay.
I watched Boruto recently, finally after a while.
Really? How'd
Yeah.
that turn out?
I'm not gonna lie, I only watched it for Sasuke content. That was the
God,
only
you
reason
and
why I watched
Sasuke.
it. Dude, me and Sasuke just need to get married. Fuck Sakura, like I'm here.
Okay.
Also, yeah, Sakura, she can get it on too. The whole family's involved.
Okay, boy. No comment.
Oh god, that was so loud. Anyway, sorry for that, everybody. Sorry for those headphone users that got to hear my loud ass pop there. So good old
Speaking of pops,
yeah.
let's boogie, dog.
Well, we're not gonna boogie quite yet.
Oh,
We're going in order from what's going on here.
okay. So
And,
what do we got to do before we boogie?
Boogiepop's actually probably gonna be the last thing we go into.
Okay.
Just because, like we said, me and Scott have talked about how Boogiepop is probably our favorite so far of the season. I would like to take the last bit of time to just fucking go through it as much as we can. So,
All right.
cool. It's shot time though.
Oh, shot time, huh?
This is a drinking podcast, so we do need to drink.
Yes, and we need to record all the drinks.
We need to record
So,
all the
Like I said, we need the alibis. We got to make sure people know that there's drinks.
all that good old ASMR drinking. Imagine
Is
you're
that a
drink-
category of ASMR?
I am sure it's a category of just people slurping stuff down.
It seems like something that people do on Twitch and like get paid for it. Like people.
Dude,
give
I saw
them money
Twitch
to
the other
drink.
day of this chick that was like just clearly just trying to be like, oh, like I'm hot and I'll do ASMR. And she was just like, just fucking eating a bowl of ramen noodles. And you just kept hearing slurpy watering sounds the entire time. And got to see her face throughout it all. And she made like really strange noises while eating it.
Why were you watching this?
I was with somebody that was like really into ASMR and was like showing me that like there's like a legit like really big part of ASMR on Twitch because I mostly use Twitch for Overwatch stuff. Yeah, I never explore anything outside of like gaming. But then they were just like, yeah, it was Alex.
Really?
Yeah, Alex was like, check it out. Alex is one of my friends. He's been part of this before, right?
I think so. Early on.
Yeah. But yeah, he was just like, cool.
Before we got big.
Yeah, before we got big, and he was just like, cool. He was like, check out this weird ASMR, and I was like,
check out this girl eating noodles. It turns me on. I don't know why. That's what he was. I don't know if he said that. That's what he was thinking. Though.
That's like along the lines. I feel bad for this because I'm just like, I was like, it's all right. You don't listen to this, Alex.
They don't know it's his real name. Oh well.
It is his real name. They know that. He's been on here before. Thank you, Alex. It's okay. Takes a shot.
Yeah, wasn't that the...
that was the whole point of all this.
Oh my god.
Can you hear that very well?
I can.
We're wearing headphones, so it's very nice. Ooh, I heard that gulp.
That was a big one.
I can tell. That was the rest of what I had poured. We'll have to fix that one after the next topic. But next topic is Mob Psycho 100.
Okay.
So I will say about Mob Psycho 100 that spoiler warning from here on out.
Oh, good.
Mob Psycho 100 is definitely going to be something that we are going to talk about. I cannot stress not talking about Mob Psycho 100. So from here on out, spoilers.
All right. Do you want to start or? I have some vague thoughts floating around if you want to kind of like think what you want to talk about.
So, for me, I will say that Mob never ceases to amaze me. Boogiepop is obviously my favorite current thing that is not going to be airing. That isn't the second season.
Yeah.
But Mob is honestly one of my favorite animes I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah, I agree heavily.
I can't think of anything that has such a good story as well as good character development. Like, there's never a single episode that fails to amaze me. And, like, I cry watching Mob. And, like, these past few episodes have just been about, like, Reagan's development and, like, how Mob is developing as a character and how both of them are kind of, like, understanding each other a little bit better. And then they were just like, hey, by the way, your house is on fire.
Yeah, they did just kind of drop that actual bomb? Question mark?
I'll say this. The last episode of Mob Psycho 100, I don't want to get into like full detail of what's going to happen just because I don't want to entirely ruin everything. Yeah. But I will say that it will be explosive. Ha ha ha.
Good one.
And I will say that I remember the entire episode that I was watching last time was like completely cool. Like, you're just like, you're just like, oh, cool. Like, Mob's having a normal slice of life anime day. And then all of a sudden, horrible shit happens. And then you're like, wow, what did you just leave me with? And it's weird because it was all done in like 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's why I think it left such an emotional punch, is that they spent that whole rest of the episode just building up the people around Mob and like Mob living a more normal life without his psychic powers, and then in that last moment it all just gets completely blown to hell. Like, it really creates this sense of
literally
shock and shock and loss, and it the way it's delivered, I think, helps the viewer to very much empathize with the way that Mob would feel like everything was fine. And I mean, that's how tragedies like that happen, is like you're having a straight up normal day and everything's fine, maybe even good. And then
suddenly this happens.
Yep. Suddenly it all just changes.
The thing I love about Mob is that like I said, like the show continues to always amaze me every single episode, regardless of what happens. And Mob has a very diverse background of what the show's about. Like there's sometimes where it's kind of like a slice of life, Mob dealing with his everyday life. There's some days where it's entirely supernatural, and then there's some days where it's just stuff like that, where it's just I, you destroyed me. What do I do now? I remember being like frozen after the end of the last episode, just
Yeah.
because like I didn't know what to do with it. Plus, like that's another thing is that like Mob has just been so great in animation wise that like this, I love how they can just show the sheer amount of what has been affected by Mob just by showing like literally those two scenes where it was just like they do like black and white and like did certain sound effects that I was like, wow,
Mhm.
just from that sound effect I realized that this
Yeah.
is a broken scene.
Mob Psycho 100 is a masterclass in using your animation and your art styles to convey the tone of a scene or show. Like I specifically there's one moment where I forget why it happens, but the way they draw Mob is like different and it's only for a short while, but it just does a very good job of conveying his specific emotion at that specific point, and then they move on and change to a different style and flow slightly differently. Like it's just a really good demonstration of how the animation affects the overall mood of a show and of its scenes.
That's another main point of Mob Psycho that I just love is that the obviously the show as an overarching plot has a lot to do with Mob and his emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how throughout the series we've been seeing him blow up obviously because that's the whole point of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every blow up kind of has a better like a different emotion going on of what's going on. And during when he was like caught in that someone's mind, that wasn't really an emotion of anger. It was kind of at first. It was more of an emotion of I want to rescue somebody, and I'll do anything in my power to help that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is nothing I've ever seen before, and that was what really got me is that regardless of what happens in Mob and how I mean like nothing is repetitive about it. Yeah, he blows up. You know that it might happen, and like you know all this stuff, but like they throw me through so many loops that I'm just like, I get that he explodes with this, but the reason behind it is just so meaningful. And that's why it's just like with this past episode and his he had an explosion last episode that was just I don't know how the world is going to survive.
Oh, I don't know either. I think Tokyo's gonna be gone.
Yeah, I think Tokyo's gone. But oh god.
I have really been enjoying the overall direction that they're taking the show in. I mean, I could have done without the gut punch this evening, but
Yeah, you got punched all right.
yeah, but it'll work out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I'm really liking how they're exploring the relationships between Mob and all the people in his life, and almost looking at like specifically the last few episodes that we've seen are between mostly Mob and Reagan and their relationship, and examining how Reagan sometimes is kind of like they kind of make it more obvious of how he's like a piece of shit. Like you
Yeah,
kind of know
they
it,
did that in these past few episodes a little bit more.
right? Like you've always kind of known it just from watching him like scam people.
But he's still like a good guy.
Well, yeah, but you get to see how Reagan's kind of dismissive attitude towards Mob in his own life affects Mob, not just through like seeing his percentages go up, like you see him emotionally react to it, but more importantly, we see Reagan notice it and actually change
Yeah.
because of it. Like
There's
a strange amount of depth to these characters that I almost didn't realize was there.
there's a part where he this was during the part where he like so there's the whole episode where he ends up like kind of breaking off from Mob for a 2nd.
Mhm.
And after he leaves, he realizes, "Oh shit. I drastically messed up there. I'm realizing now that I'm the
Yeah.
adult here in this situation and Mob is definitely learning from me." And I don't think that was the right way to teach him. Don't get me wrong, like Reagan's a piece of shit in like his own way of like his business and the fact that he's a con artist. Reagan as a person is a totally cool guy. He totally gets Mob and like totally wants to be like kind of like a father figure to him and like a master. after he realizes his mistakes and everything, he's still like, hey, there's a really cool part where he's like, hey, do you like know about me? And Mob's like, yeah, I know about you. And he's like, I know that you're a good guy. And that's where I was like, damn, Mob, you know about him and you know everything he does, and yet you still think that he's a good guy. And that was just great to me, that like I find it cool that like Mob knows all this stuff and like is aware of everything, but then suddenly just like, you've taught me a lot actually. And like you've like, even if you haven't done anything psychic power wise, you still have taught me just like, oh cool, like you've taught me about like girls and like normal stuff that like somebody who like was teaching a kid do. I find it cool that Reagan even realizes himself that, man, without you, I don't learn anything.
Yeah.
Like you teach me, I teach you, and that's kind of how it is.
Yeah, it's a
And
neat dynamic that they have going on, and it was cool to see it put to some strain, and then to see it come back even stronger. It's very satisfying.
it was also really cool. Just there was the part where there's a stop it, you get too fidgety.
I need a fidget spinner.
You do. You used to have one,
Yeah, but then they got all popular.
and then you were like, I'm edgy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I threw it at a millennial.
You're a millennial.
I hit myself.
You're.
I just threw it up in the air.
Are we
and walked under
millennials?
it.
Yeah, we're millennials, right?
I don't care.
Who cares about it? Generations don't matter. Anyway, but there's a part where that I personally really liked that was in the series, where there's that part last time where we talked about where Mob kind of sees that or Reagan sees that Mob is caught in between the part of, I don't want to exercise these spirits because they're good, and I don't want to disrupt our customers. I live in the boundary of both the human realm and the like spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment Reagan realizes that Mob is discomforted, he comes in to rescue him. And it's pretty much like, no. They're like, come on, like, what are you doing? And he's like, we're done here. That's what just I love about him, is that like, regardless of how much a piece of shit he is, which they did show in that one episode, like before all this, that he did do some shitty things. But like,
Just a little bit.
he does know whenever he's crossing the line. He doesn't realize that Mob's a kid and Mob needs to learn the right things. And that's what I love about him at this point in time, is like, I like that I also really like that all of Mob's friends and stuff have like gone to Reagan. He couldn't have Mob for that one day, so he was just like, oh, Ritsu and
They're just hanging out there.
Hana, oh my god, I can never remember his name.
I don't remember it.
Teru. That's his first
Big
name.
hair.
At least. Yeah, big hair.
Although it's not so big anymore. It's just normal.
No, and they were like, I guess I'll work for you for a day. And I was just like that's like hella cute that he has like, I don't know, this like, I like the group of Mob Psycho just because it's like, there's not a single character I can really think of. Like, even like the random people outside of it have like good personality.
Yeah.
The Body Fitness Club.
I
even
love the
themselves.
Body Improvement Club.
Oh man, they're so good.
I love how they just always cheer Mob on and like help him aspire to do his best. They're just so pure. Like they just want to help their buddy.
And that's in the end of what I'm like wondering about, is like, in the end of all this, is like all that shattered now since like this big thing happened. Like, what's gonna happen to Mob now? And I think with that we will find out what's gonna happen next time.
Yeah, I mean, I have no room for predictions on this.
Yeah, I really don't either.
I mean,
I'll say this. I do have a prediction.
Oh, okay.
I have one prediction. Yeah, you want to help me out here, bud?
Okay,
I'll only
I'll
pour a
give it.
drink and not get next to the audio. So I'll say this. With Mob, I believe that right now, here's it pouring. I believe that right now, so something very dark has obviously just happened. And from what I keep kind of hearing from people, not really people, but from what I've like seeing how the internet is reacting.
Not people, but the internet.
Yeah, the internet
I love
are
that
people.
distinction.
I'm going to assume that Mob is going to be fine. And I'm going to assume that right now this is just kind of a device to make us kind of ponder and wonder what's going to happen and kind of be a little like nervous about it. But I think everything's going to play out in the end. so far from what I've seen of Mob, there's been a lot of bits where it's like yeah, Mob's a good that's the problem with Mob though, is that like Mob is a very twisty turny anime where like I think that they're very good at not keeping me on my toes and like keeping me making me guess all the time of what's going to happen.
Right. Like that's what I was gonna say is that the part of me that has like I feel like I'm trying to find the right words here.
That's fair. Ugh.
Part of me is expecting it to go the route of, yep, everything turned out fine, took some twists and turns, but here we are, back where we started. Everyone's Daijobu, you know, it's all good.
It's all Daijobu.
But I'm leaning more towards that just because the overall tone of Mob, like, it's not Attack on Titan where it's immediately established to be like anything can go wrong at any second. Like, there's more of a story type happy ending.
Yeah, like I feel like characters are kind of fixed, but I'm also like, I don't know. This is the first time in Mob that this has ever happened where I've genuinely felt threatened.
Yeah. And I mean, that is how it is a good way to achieve that type of emotional reaction, is to defy expectations in that way, you know? So,
and Mob has been so good at doing that.
So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. But finally moving on, I'll say Mob is amazing. Mob Has Yet to Cease amazed me. God, I need to fucking know what happens. We'll know in 2 days.
No matter what they do.
Oh God, that's in 2 days, isn't it?
Well, good.
Around 2 days. Yeah.
I don't want to wait longer.
Yeah. I guess we'll see.
And here.
Yeah. Either way, midpoint, it is shot time. And then we're gonna get into our final anime. Then we're done. Well, I guess we still have two. No, we still have two more to talk about before. Sword Art and Slime are just like not something that I'm just like, yeah, I got a lot to say.
I have a bit of a rant for Sword Art, but
okay, yeah, you were gonna talk about this. Yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. We'll do Sword Art next. Slime, okay. Boogiepop. Cool.
Yeah.
Right now it's shot time.
Okay with
though.
That.
All right, cool.
Okay, you don't need to
go next to the mic and hear it. Come on,
like it's right in my ear.
But we take shots. I like to take shots.
It sounds like you're licking my ears.
I do have to swallow though. Sorry, got away from the mic. Oh, okay, good. We're back. We're back at it and ready to go. So Scott, you've got quite a lot to say about Sword Art.
So, not even really, just a lot to say about one specific thing. So, I have not been watching Sword Art at all. It's so boring. I don't want to keep watching it. I'd rather sit and watch a whole show about Yu-Gi-Oh cutting down that goddamn demon tree. Just every episode is several swings until eventually he gets halfway through and gives up or dies of old age.
I like Sword Art.
But this one part in the episode before the most recent one, I think, what is this, episode 20 we just watched?
Yes.
So episode 19, there is a scene where Kirito stands on a metal pole stuck inside of a wall and pulls the whole weight of another human being on a chain up and swings them up onto a ledge that is above him. Like, this is a world that has literal actual magic, and that's the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. There is no way that you can keep your balance standing on a metal pole hundreds of feet into the air and lift a whole nother person in full plate armor up over your head. He has these skinny boy arms. There's no way he's that strong. I don't care if it's a game, and I know what you're thinking. Oh, it's anime. People can do unrealistic shit. Is that any less realistic than people with wires that are also weapons, or people
I love that's your favorite too.
Or people with like swords that are way too big? Like, yeah, it's unacceptable. I do not accept that level of tomfoolery. It's blasphemy.
Scott.
There's no way he could stand on that metal pole. There's no way.
Scott. So I know that you're on this part of that. No, I'm done with
Kirito
this.
probably weighs like 120 pounds. So there's no.
So I know that you're on this part of, yeah, I'm done with the fact that this is anime, don't ask questions kind of bullshit. But I will say that in the end of all of it, yeah, dude, it's fucking anime.
While he's fighting like 15 dragons.
I'll say this.
Just how did he keep his balance on the pole?
There's only one thing that makes me angry about this whole situation, is that they didn't make the poles slightly bigger. They were like thin as shit.
Right.
Like, why? That was a very weird aspect to this show.
How could you even stand on it, let alone pull up a whole nother human person?
See, I think you're missing the point in the entirety of the thing, is that you're looking too much into the shitty anime traits of it looking like, oh, cool, like, yeah, like, that's completely impossible.
He throws her like 15 feet into the air.
Yeah, but like
he swings her.
Also, like, I'm sure he weighs more than her. I get that she's wearing full plate armor, but like, it's also like a game universe. I don't know if this affects anything. Also, it's like, I'll say this. So, in the overall span of what was going on during that scene, it wasn't to piss you off of what's going on.
No,
in reality,
it was specifically made to piss you off.
Maybe you. But the whole message in all this show was pretty much like Kirito had to gain her trust, and this was the way to do it.
She also trusts him like immediately.
Well, like, he did have like a super good amount of evidence about her life that she somehow kind of, you know, like all the knights kind of like understood that, like, the moment their lives were brought to light, that they were like, oh shit, that's right. I think she kind of is like, okay, this is too elaborate for you to be lying to me.
I guess so. I wouldn't believe it.
Come on, you're with a guy that's also like, she like did not understand her purpose at all. Like, she's pretty much like, all right, I question what's going on right now because I don't get it either. I've just kind of accepted the fact that I'm this knight.
And they had already seen the big Beastie Boys.
So, like,
while they were fighting on a metal pole, standing on it. And then he flung her like 15 feet into the air.
Scott, let me give you a reference to something else that pisses me off, but I don't say anything about it because I know it's anime. So there's a scene in Boogiepop where, what's his name, who's the spring guy?
I know who you're talking about.
Oskai, whatever his name is. So he gets thrown from a building and gets caught with Boogiepop's magical wires. That would have fucking cut him to bits. Like, there's a part where he gets his leg, like, caught where he's going to. That would have fucking severed his leg or break it. Like, there's no way he would have been caught. But once again, anime. I don't question shit. There's a guy who has a fox in his stomach. There's a guy who eats people for a living. There's a girl who's somehow a celebrity that is... people believe her to be real. They have concerts of her.
I just really like the phrase, eats people for a living.
Eats people for a living, bud.
My job is that I eat people.
My job is that I eat people.
Okay, I see your point.
I'm saying that anime doesn't fucking matter, dude. Like, you look way into the realism part of it. Like, if I could do anything that was anime-like, I would be gone by now.
That's why it's so weird to me that this part, like, genuinely made me so angry, is that the whole reason I like anime is because you can do absurd shit. Like,
that was just too absurd.
It drew the line.
I will say that they were doing that for an entire episode also. So, like, I can see what you mean. There was a part where I was like, all right. And then this episode, they were like, oh yeah, by the way, I pulled you up on my own. But I'm also like, there's a scene in the original Sword Art where, not original, I think it's Gun Gale. I don't remember. Someone passes out and Kirito has to, like, carry her for, like, a fucking long time in the middle of battle. And I'm like...
yeah, you're dead.
I'm like, yeah, but I'm also like, it is a video game after all, and I don't know the science behind the game. Like, that's the key thing here, is that anime has a way to... So Sword Art has double protected itself. So not only is it anime, where you can do whatever you want, but it's also in a literal video game, where you can do whatever you want. So they've took the aspect of a video game on top... They've took an anime on top of a video game, where you're double protected, and you can do absolutely whatever the fuck you want, dude. You can do whatever. It doesn't matter. Jump off a building. Stand
I
on
wish Kirito would jump off a
stand
building.
on massive poles and just that are really thin. Don't worry about it. You'll be able to pull somebody up, hoist them up, get them to the next one above you. There were some times though where he pulled the chain and she went way above where I was expecting her to go.
And like there was a scene where Kirito fell backwards and she was like already almost about to fall, but then somehow pulls him up. Like, how did you possibly gain traction? And like, I just feel like if you're besides all the magic and the general anime-ness of it, like for the most part, their world looks like it follows our rules of physics for the most part. So it's just I know, it is anime.
Nothing ever follows the rules of physics in real life.
It just frustrated me so much.
I'm going to say this. I don't think I've ever watched an anime in my life where physics really applied. We're like the fabric of like if somebody were to do that in real life, I'd be like, no, this is nonsense. Unless it was somebody just like, unless it was like sports anime. And even in sports anime, there's sometimes where I'm like
when they flash step, like right to where the
flash steps to volleyball, haiku. I'm like, no, this is so stupid, but it's also so great. I like my
watch Haikyuu.
Oh my god, season 4 comes out this year.
Oh, good.
Is it this year or next year? I can't remember.
Anyway, I'm done with Sword Art. I just
okay. I'll say this: I like Sword Art. I like this season just because it hasn't been entirely developed on Kirito, depending on a woman that he might fall in love with or not fall in love with. I don't know.
But they'll definitely fall in love with him no matter what.
Yeah, I'm assuming that like right now he is with what's her name, Alice, and they have had some weird, obviously fan servicey parts where it's like, oh, Kirito with a girl, but I don't think I told you this right now. I like Alice's personality a lot. That like it's been keeping my interest very well. And also, I don't think she's really in the game for being like, oh, cool, I'm all about Kirito. Also, she's a fluck light, so she's not real.
Just like all of our waifus.
Yeah, all of them are not real. They're all fluck lights in my fucking imagination. Drifts away out of the mic. But, I mean, Sword Art, man. And I think this is the first season that I've liked in a really long time since the first one. Like, the first and second season were good just because, obviously, the first season was, like, actual, like, Sword Art. You know, like, the actual thing that it was based on. And then the second season was, like, cool, we got it as Sword Art, and now we need to find our way to this so we can finally be free. And then Gun Gale and what's it called? We're just like, oh, cool, let's fuck around and do whatever. More games. More video games. It's all good. Promotion. People like Sword Art. People like the name Sword Art. Why don't we put that in other things? Which is kind of how it is. Also, the guy who wrote Sword Art was like, wow, this shit's trash. Luckily, I wrote a second part to it. Was like, now I wish I just didn't write the original. And I just think that's so weird. But I don't know. It's Sword Art, dude.
I mean, this season has had more depth and more, I feel like, genuine challenges for its characters to overcome. But in general problem with Sword Art is just how easy everything comes to Kirito, which is another aspect of why this goddamn pole lifting stunt made me so like, of course he can do it. Of course he can just stand flawlessly on a pole and lift up a whole nother human being without any difficulty besides his little boy arm, his little boy arm, his little boy arms. Despite his little boy arms,
I'll say this as like
they're so little. He should have at least some beefier arms.
I'll say this as an ending to this part. I like this season a lot more in Sword Art as a whole, just because this has been the first season where we've not entirely just focused on either Kirito or some girl who's involved in Kirito's party. You have Yu-Gi-Oh there, who's there to kind of bring a little bit more character development to the table.
It is refreshing to have that, like, more of a buffer there.
Yeah, and like I just like it that it's like suddenly because Yu-Gi-Oh isn't there, this season is the first time where I'm not seeing an entire harem, and that to me is kind of cool. I'm just like, all right, cool. Like, but then there's the aspect of like, I know that Yu-Gi-Oh is just a fluck light, so I know that he's not going to be involved in the series anymore after this. I know that
all this time developing people that aren't people.
You know, in the end of this, it really just doesn't matter.
They're all just gonna be deleted. I hope that's how the series ends.
Everybody's deleted. The game's over.
It was all for nothing.
The ship gets bombed. Him and Austin will leave, and he's like, "Oh shit, cool. I've been in a coma for like 6 months." It's also weird because I know that he's been in there for like, at this point in time with like his memory,
He's lived 6.
like he's lived like 6 to 8 years in this world. Does he even care about Austin anymore? Is he like?
Oh, of course he does. It's Kirito.
I'm pretty sure that he's like
the purest boy.
I know that he's like aware that he's in there, and I know that he's probably aware that the hour time is a bit different there.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, dude, like that feels like 6 years to you. Do you not just forget about people easily? You're like, no, Austin is cool. I'm just like,
he'll remember.
I'm just like, I feel like after being 6 years up there, just hanging out with some dude for a while, you'd be like, all right, I don't know. I feel like you might have moved on.
Just imagine when he gets back, like, or maybe it's like waking up out of a dream.
Because like it's been like only like 3 weeks to him.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe he'll be like, oh shit, it's 3 weeks. All right.
Like,
yeah, they described that it's like a dream.
Like you wake up and you're like,
he like didn't remember anything about being
Exactly.
there. So I guess that's how it'll be.
well, no moral quandaries here.
So nothing.
Move along. All
right, cool. Slime. Do you have thoughts? I have a big thought.
My thoughts have stayed the same. It's a feel-good anime that I watch for happy fantasy time.
I will say that the only thing that discomforts me about the show is the fact that, one, I've still yet to see the guy that was in the first opening. That never happened. They've mentioned his name once and then never got into him. Two, you ever notice that in this series right now, there's only 4 episodes left, and he just entirely dropped everything that he was doing just to
left
go
his whole city. Like, yeah, you guys can man the fort, right?
Yeah,
Bye.
and that's gonna be the last 2 episodes, and that's gonna be the end of the series. I'm just like, I feel like the end of the series is not going to be very good. I mean, not very good. It's just like it's not like I expected more out of the show. I expected him to fight more. I expected him to meet people who could actually conquer him, and like he kind of did. He met people that was like what's her name? Who's like the main like demon army woman? Was like, hey, he was like, yeah, I know she's more powerful than me. Like I'm not gonna try to fight her. And then he's like, luckily I made friends. Luckily he's got like friends everywhere. Luckily everybody just pops up and they're like, hey, you're evil. And he's like, no, let's be friends. And
No,
like,
I'm cool. They're like, oh, you're cool.
They're like, oh, you're cool. They're like, yeah, you got
so
like
easily convinces everyone. He's just a likable guy.
Also can just make manga.
Yeah, he can just print it out.
Like print it out by memory. Somehow knows the memory of all this.
I thought it was really, I thought it would be funny if he had misremembered like
some parts
of the manga and
yeah. How did you remember that so easily?
Wrong. You know, special. It's anime. You know, anime. Like how you.
Now we're back to that. Like how you can hoist people up on the sides of buildings with rods.
Fuck that.
Also, they like ran out of power at some point in time. They're like, we ran out of rods. And I was just like, why aren't you both creating rods? Why aren't you reusing the same rods? Why aren't you pulling one rod out and using why aren't you using your sword? Why aren't you making 2 rods to put next to each other? She made
one of the rods out of her armor. She's wearing so many pieces of armor.
All right.
Okay, let's move on to something good, please.
I think that we've talked enough about shonen junk. Shonen junk. That's the new thing. I
like that a lot.
It's new shonen junk. I think we're finally going to move on to Boogiepop. So it's kind of strange to me because also I'll say this before we even begin watching Boogiepop. Boogiepop is not popular.
Really?
Yeah, not at all. Like I've talked to little people about Boogiepop, and it kind of makes me upset because I'm like, it's a really good show. Yeah. And like I talked to like I have my for those who remember the Weeboo's channel. I have talked to a few of them that are over there. I don't know if any of them are really even watching it. I've heard from like 2 people that are watching it, and I heard from the people that were also like, hey, it's hit or miss anime. But besides you, I actually don't know anybody. Like my friend Erica, who I got to watch it, they're the only people who watch it. And I just gotta say, with everything going on, that's like really sad.
Yeah, they're missing out.
I think people have not given the anime a chance, and I think in the beginning it was kind of hard.
Yeah, it's easy to drop off.
Yeah, it was easy to drop off and not continue, but I stayed for the whole way, and I'm here.
I'm glad I powered through.
And I gotta say, it wasn't even powered through. Like you make it sound like it was a chore. Like I had fun. Yeah,
it's bad diction on my part.
I think I had fun.
Yeah, I was intrigued initially, but after a few episodes, when I still wasn't quite picking up like the overarching plot of the show and like the direction that they were trying to go. But once I stayed and watched more of the show and actually had time to like let them flesh out what the fuck was going on, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, like for sure.
Okay, I'm just making sure I said all the words I was going to.
Okay, that's fair. Oh, sorry, I'm like not in the mic.
It's cool. I'm pretty sure I've been off mic like 6 times already.
It's okay. So
I'm learning.
yeah, we're all learning. This is our first episode with these mics, so we're still trying to get the hang of it. I think first of all, we talked about this last time. Is that like Boogiepop is definitely my kind of anime, and I think I started off initially loving it, and then I just kind of stayed that way. And there were certain parts where I was like, I don't know. And then and then after that, I was like, "Damn, this anime just kind of keep reassuring me that I like it." It keeps bringing new, very interesting elements to the table that I just, damn, like it's hard to explain. Um, and that's what I really like about it is just like I don't necessarily. I would say out of all the arcs, I think probably the spooky E arc was a bit not my taste.
Really?
Like, not necessarily my taste, but I feel like it was going on for a lot longer than I thought it was going to go along. Because the arcs previously to that were only like 3 episodes.
See, I think the latter half of that arc is actually what kind of recaptivated my interest in the show.
Yeah, I liked the whole, like, I like what Boogiepop does where, like, I talked to you about this earlier, but I like that Boogiepop has, like, there's always this overarching message. And
Yeah.
each character has their own thing and their own, like, standing for, like, the villains, I mean. Like, the things that come into the world that threaten it.
Yeah.
And I think that last season was good, but I think it took me like it kept throwing me through loops, and then eventually after like Spooky E and everything was revealed, I eventually was like, okay, I get what's going on now, and I'm fully captivated. Plus, like the animation style, just like I don't know, it's like good, but it's like it happens in bursts. Where like certain scenes are very very nicely animated. Certain scenes there's not a lot to do with animation, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Do you have something to say?
No, not really. I mostly just agree with you. I really like the animation of the show. I think that it has something that makes the show good is that it's a good amalgamation of things. Like, I mean, well, I guess any good anime is made of good parts.
Yeah.
But I just think this show is. I'm having a lot of difficulty finding the right words. It's almost like it's not a good as one cohesive thing. A bunch of it's a bunch of things that I really like about the show put together that gives me my enjoyment of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like there's a lot of elements that you like in it
right.
that are
like I like the format that they're using of kind of having you piece things with the story and the characters together while watching things going on in the current moment, and like you're consistently finding out new information and forming your own predictions, and mixed in with that good moments of character interactions, action, tension, and just like the overall mystery vibe of the show. I mean, all those elements combined, I think, are what make it so captivating.
I think that Boogiepop as a character is just very fascinating to me.
Yes, I very much like Boogiepop.
Boogiepop is so like once again we talked about this earlier is that like Toko Mayashita is Boogiepop. And I feel like I know so much about Boogiepop and so much about like this character that I'm like, huh, I really don't know shit about Toka.
Yeah,
And like she's just kind of like a girl that like exists and like is just like, yeah, I want to be part of this. It's really nice now that we've gone through a lot of this and seen a lot of the history of the show to finally get a grasp on like once again we were talking about this earlier is that like this is definitely a show that you needed to watch to build up what was going on in the world for you to fully understand it. And I think a lot of the people who I did talk to who got into the show and didn't really like it was because I don't think they gave it enough of a chance. And like we talked about this, how it's kind of a hit and miss anime. I feel like people just say that just because they didn't give it a chance enough. And because like I mean I will say like there's the whole I think this is stupid, but like people talk about the 3 episode rule,
Yeah.
where if it's not good by 3 episodes, you drop it. And I'm like, okay, like I can get if you're not into 3 episodes and that's like an absurd amount of like I don't really like this anymore. Boogie Pop is not something you can really use the 3 episode rule on. I feel like you need to digest a good amount of the history of it to get it.
Yeah, like by setting that limitation on yourself, you're preventing yourself from enjoying the delivery of the story in the order that its creator wants it to be. Like, because the different, man, I'm really bad at thinking of words I want to say, huh?
Yeah, you are. But like I'll say this. So my thing with it also is that we talked about this earlier was that you were kind of saying that it I can't fucking remember. I think the main thing that I was trying to say here is that like I feel like it's a show that you kind of need to watch the whole thing to get the big picture because the whole thing obviously is the big picture.
Yeah, exactly.
And like there's a lot of elements to it that you just wouldn't get if you just watched like 2 episodes. Like you're not like it has a this is what you were saying. You were telling me that it has a good way of explaining stuff as much as it can without giving you a ton away, as well as keeping you on your feet and wanting you to question more about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I just love about the series. It's just like it was really cool to find out about like all the stuff that was like going on with like the TOA in it, like the TOA organization or what the hell they're called, because it was like I had absolutely no idea what the hell they were, and now I'm realizing that they're an overarching nemesis that I don't really understand about. And I think a lot of Boogie Pop is art rather than there's a lot of artistic things I like about it that I think you just need to appreciate rather than just judging it. And God damn that opening. God
Yeah,
damn
it's a
that
very
fucking
good
ending.
opening. It's the one opening that I haven't skipped yet.
Yeah, like I can't.
I watch it every time.
I have to. I just have to watch it.
Like I play that song a lot.
Me too. Kind of weird to think about. Myth and Royd is the people who do the opening for it.
I'm gonna listen to it right after we record this.
I love Myth and Royd. Myth and Royd actually does the openings for ReZero.
Really?
Endings for ReZero. As well as what else? I didn't like Overlord, but they do openings and endings for Overlord. As well as it's weird. You know that Isekai quartet thing I was talking about that has like Konosuba, ReZero, Overlord. Yeah. It's funny because every single one of those anime, besides Konosuba, I can think of, has an opening by Myth and Royd.
Huh.
Yeah, weird, right?
Yeah, kind of a neat little connection there.
Yeah, I don't know why that is, but okay. Myth and Royd actually, side note, just getting into music, not anime, but Myth and Royd actually has like a very
nothing but liquor and anime.
but music.
No, it's not.
Nothing but liquor, anime, and music. Please throw that in there. But also they just have like a good way of like they have very weird sounds. Like they sound kind of different each song, and that's what I really like about them. And I think that they are very good at making a song per thing. And same for like my second favorite anime opening to this season would probably be the Promised Neverland.
Yeah, agreed.
Or Mob, but that's just like Mob Choir is amazing.
Yeah, obviously.
They have a whole group just for Mob Psycho. And
they deserve it.
They really do. They really deserve everything. That show deserves the world. But like Boogie Pop, once again, like me talking about this, like I'll say this just to give you guys interest in it. Do not give up on it if you start watching it. I think that you have to see it through to kind of get it. And I think when you have kind of got that grasp of this is what the show's about, everything's kind of been explained to me a little bit more, I don't think it'll lose your interest. And like even this most recent episode that we are watching, like we haven't really spoiled a ton about Boogie Pop actually. There's not a lot to spoil just because we don't really know how to describe it. Like we know how to describe it, but like
it's hard to spoil things that we don't have all the pieces for yet.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is that like it has a good way of keeping you interested as well as not revealing a ton. I think that they've been doing a very good amount that by the time because we still have 5 episodes left or 4. I think this will be the last arc, and then after that we'll kind of get a big premise of what's going on. I think the show has been nothing but good, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, now that we kind of have a solid idea now of who all the main players in this game are and kind of what their roles are. So now that we have a more established idea of who the actual characters that we're dealing with are, we can kind of get a more in-depth dive into how they're gonna interact with each other and what's gonna go from here on out.
For sure. But yeah, that's pretty much it for us. But concluding that, I just want to say that I'm glad to have good mics now.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad to finally be a bit more legit in this. Hoping to get more stuff. Please send me questions. We can send it to our Gmail, or you can send it to my Tumblr at nichimasmakotos@tumblr.com.
Or just send a carrier pigeon
Yeah, send a carrier pigeon
to wherever. We'll find it.
We'll be on the side of a building, entirely being held together by really really small metal poles that keep us up.
Yeah, and when we see the pigeon, Shane will pull me up by a chain, and I'll get flung into the air, and I'll grab it.
I think that's the best that's gonna happen, and
Yeah.
I think that's how we can
exactly
reach us.
how it'll.
We
That's
still-
the best way to reach us.
We still have a Twitter. I'm actually gonna start using that now that we're like trying to do this. We're starting up a Patreon account. Still, obviously, YouTube is our main source. I'm probably gonna start getting SoundCloud again, also, so we can start putting it there.
Sweet.
Hopefully, we get up on. I'm gonna find a way to get us up on iTunes finally. Maybe get some of that good money.
Good money. Let's
Maybe-
get a camera
Maybe help us out. Get a cam.
that can see our beautiful, beautiful faces.
I like the podcast aspect. I like not being seen.
Oh, okay.
Being seen, being heard, but not seen.
We can
was
just
what I
point
was.
it at we'll point it at just my face.
Okay, that'd be super weird just to hear you talk, like see your face and hear me in the background. But anyway, yeah, send us possibly an email at otakushotglass@gmail.com. My Tumblr, Twitter. We got things. Make sure to send us questions and let your friends know that we're having a good podcast. Obviously, this is a good time for you guys to spread for us as well. Spread
What they're gonna spread for us?
Spread your
Jesus.
otaku seed for us.
What? The fuck? I'm out. I'm done. No more.
Well, Scott's out, and I just want to say that have a good night, everybody, and we will see you in about a month. You gonna say bye, Scott?
Oh, goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.